Today, I'm going to give you the list of the top 10 cities where home prices are dropping the most. I'm going to discuss how the media vampires that have been calling for a housing crash for years are celebrating a victory that is completely 100% out of context. And then at the end of today's video, I'm going to bring in one of the agents that I am coaching who's going to share how he's been able to close 22 transactions in his very first year as a full-time real estate agent. So let's jump into today's daily real estate show. Number one, I want to walk you guys through a report that Realtor.com put out that states, here are the top 10 cities where home prices are dropping the most right now, and go through these because I think that it's important to understand, okay, because later I'm going to kind of give you some context around these numbers. But when we talk about, all right, here are the worst markets when it comes to price drops, it's important to know the information so that you, if you're serving or you're selling real estate in this market or you're a homeowner in one of these markets, you have some context around a headline like this. So let's jump into the list. Number 10 is, or number 1 rather, Austin, Texas. And Austin seems to kind of be like the real estate hub for when the housing market gets really hot. And because that market grows so fast, it tends to come down as fast. So the median home list price in September last month was $558,000, which was down just over 10% as of June. Now, year over year, however, this is really, really critical. This is the context I was giving you. So this is the price change since June 2020. However, year over year, home prices are still, yes, up in Austin, Texas, over 2%. So that is really important to understand that the market that has the largest price decrease in 2022 is still up year over year. Number 2, Phoenix, Arizona, another market that we see go up and down quite a bit when the market shifts. So home average price right now is $493,500. Down just under 10%, but year over year since last year, up 4.5% or 4.4%. Number 3 on the list is Palm Bay, Florida. Now, their average price right now is $379,000, down almost 9% since June, but up almost 6% year over year. Number 4, Charleston, South Carolina, average home price $500,000, down 8.6% since June, up 10% year over year. I think you guys are starting to get the point. Here's another market. In Utah, down 8.6% in June, but up 7.7% year over year. Number 6, Denver, Colorado, down 8% since June, up 4.2% year over year. Las Vegas, Nevada, down almost 8% since June, up 7% since September. Stockton, California, average home price $581,000. That price is down from June 7.7%, but year over year, if we look at the values from September last year, home prices are up in Stockton, California, 7.3%. Durham, North Carolina, average home price $460,000, down 7.5% since June, up 2.2% year over year. And then number 10 on the list is Spokane, Washington, $450,000 average home price, down 7.5%, up just over 5.5% year over year. Now, I share that because on the show this week, I've been talking a lot about headlines, and these headlines sometimes being taken out of context and getting people concerned really for reasons that are unnecessary, because when you put context around the headline, you start to kind of sit back and scratch your head and say, wow, that's not so bad. What's all this crisis conversation happening? And it's funny, I have people commenting on the show every day in the comments section beneath these videos saying, oh, you have no idea what is coming. And listen, I am not going to sit here and say that the U.S. economy and inflation and the housing market is not going to go through some pain. We are certainly going through pain. My only point, it seems, this week is that the media continues to take things out of context, and they're very, very good at making things seem worse than they are. Why? Because fear sells, right? If a media company comes out there and says, oh, the top 10 housing markets that are barely affected, nobody's clicking, they're not selling any advertising, which then brings me into my next point that I want to walk you guys through. So for a long, long time, okay, there have been people rather that have been calling for a housing crash. They believe that a housing crash is coming. They've been communicating this for a very, very long time. And now that we're starting to see some home prices come down off the all-time highs, some of what I call media vampires are really, really sitting back and saying, see, I told you so. I told you so. Well, again, let me give you context, because the victory that a lot of these media vampires are touting right now, I will give it to them. The housing market is shifting. I'm not positioning that the housing market is not being affected because of inflation, high mortgage interest rates, things slowing down, prices shifting. I'm not taking any of that away, but context is the thing that matters, and it's what I care about the most. So on screen right now, I made a graph to give you, the audience, whether you're a real estate professional, a mortgage loan officer, a consumer buying or selling a home, it is important for you to understand these numbers. So let me share with you what is happening. So if we go back to 2019, these are pre-pandemic numbers. You look at the average home price of $270,000. That $270,000 was an increase in home appreciation 5% from the previous year. The same home in 2019 was up 5% from that year before, 2018. Then the pandemic hit, and we started to see home appreciation like we have never seen before, ever. So in 2020, that exact same house was now worth $308,900. It was up 14% on average. Then 2021, as the Fed continued to lower rates to zero, mortgage interest rates going down dramatically, demand super, super high, housing inventory at record lows. What do you think prices did in 2021? Well, they went up another 14%. Now that same house that was worth $270,000 just 2 years prior is now worth $350,000. Up a total of 35% in 2 years' time. We've never seen home appreciation like this in the history of our country. I call this the real estate jackpot. That every single person who owned a home in this period of time, they all won. It's not because of what they did. It's because we saw an anomaly, a statistical anomaly, where the pandemic hit, the U.S. government started printing trillions of dollars, rather, pumping so much money into the economy to keep the economy moving forward, which, fine. And so, in addition to that, lowering interest rates to 0%, which drove up demand to buy houses that didn't exist. So home sellers, what do? They could charge any price they wanted, and they got it. Then in 2022, as we sit right now, the average home price is at $370,000, which is still up 7% from last year. Now, this is where things are starting to shift as inflation is reaching levels that we haven't seen in quite some time. Mortgage interest rates are shooting up at a record pace, really slowing down the demand for new buyers. Really, the crisis coming around housing affordability. Yes, we are seeing prices come back down, and I believe, as many other people believe, we will see a housing correction. Well, what does that mean? What is the context around this conversation? The context is I'm going to be conservative. Some people think it's 10% that we're going to see house prices come down. Some say it's up to 20%. I'm going to split the difference and say, okay, fine. Let's meet in the middle and call it a 15% landing, that a new baseline will be hit in 2023 where the average home price is $314,000. Fine, the media vampires can run with the big home price depreciation. Home prices are crashing. Housing market is crashing. They're all saying, I told you so, I told you so. Let's pretend that they are right. And I do agree we're going to go through a correction. And let's pretend that in 2023 we land somewhere around $314,000 as an average home price in this country. Here's the context. It is still up 14% pre-pandemic. In other words, that home that was worth $270,000 pre-pandemic in 2019, when we hit a new baseline after the housing market correction that a lot of the media is calling a crash, and we settle in right around $314,000, when we start to see inflation come back down, when we start to see mortgage rates come back down, we start to see demand pick back up, we start to level off the housing market, we find ourselves with home prices that when we look at it and you look at the graph and give some context, you say, wow, that's not so bad. That, in fact, what we've done is normalize from an inventory level, supply and demand level, and home prices are kind of normalizing. And where we're settling in as a new baseline is still a lot more than what our houses were worth pre-pandemic, which is simply, it just simply suggests that we had normal appreciation over the last couple of years if you subtract the 30% statistical anomaly that happened as a result of the pandemic. So the reason I share that with you guys in that graph, feel free to share that if you like, is I want you to see the numbers. So when the media says housing crash, or you see some of these headlines that make you nervous to say, oh my gosh, is this 2008 all over again? I want to give you the numbers so you can say, okay, wow, when I put some numbers around it, you give it some context. Hopefully the fear starts to subside a little bit, and a new reality sets in and says, okay, when we get our arms around this inflation issue, hopefully in late 2023, mortgage rates will start to come back down. Housing prices will start to kind of level off, and we go through a housing correction of 10, 15, even 20%, that we find that these home prices, our homes, are still worth more than they were. Even if you erased the 20, 25, 30%, I'll call it housing inflation as a result of the pandemic, we're still in better shape than we were before that. So now I want to bring in, and before I do, I am going to share a conversation with one of my coaching clients. He was a long-term chef. So he was in an industry that has nothing to do with sales, nothing to do with real estate. And through hard work, through coaching, he's been very coachable. He's done the work. He's done exactly what I've asked him to do. As a result, in his first full year, he will double the amount of money that he was earning as a head chef. He's going to end up closing about 22, 23, 25, somewhere in that ballpark, 24, 25 transactions in his first full year in the real estate industry. He's going to share his exact story and how he was able to do it. So I hope you enjoy. Take a listen to this. All right, so joining me now, Tyler, appreciate you jumping on with me for a few minutes. What market are you in, just for context?
So I'm in the Central Florida market, Orlando.
Got it. Okay. And, I guess what's interesting about that is how has your market been affected, if at all, as a result of Hurricane Ian?
Well, for Orlando, we were lucky we did not get hit that hard. In Fort Myers, it was devastating. But
Yeah.
really here, we lost a couple people, lost power for a day or two, and maybe got some, new roofing, but not really affected us at all.
Are you finding, and I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but are you finding that maybe as a result that people that lost housing in the Fort Myers area are migrating to the Orlando area? Are you seeing an influx of maybe new buyers or new renters at all?
No, not really. There's been some talks about it, but I think a lot of people who lost their home in Fort Myers are just ready to get out of Florida, get away from hurricanes. But certainly, I'm sure there will be some relocating to Central Florida off the coast.
Got it. Yeah. So let's kind of unpack your business. All right. So how long have you been selling real estate in that market specifically?
So for me, I got licensed 2020 in March during the pandemic. I was furloughed from my job. I was a full-time chef for 15 years. Was furloughed for 7 months, started selling real estate, did 2 transactions, went back to work for a year. And then I recently just quit my job in March and went real estate full-time this year. So 2 years, technically, I've been licensed selling real estate since March full-time.
So just about 6 months full-time.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I have to ask you, you were a chef. What got into you to say, well, I want to get into sales? That is worlds apart from each other. I'm really curious how you came to that decision.
So the short answer would be it was always a dream of mine to flip houses from watching the HGTV shows like that. And, so I thought I'll get my real estate license so I can get some money to invest and flip houses. And then in 2020, when me and my wife both got furloughed from our jobs, we both got real estate license and got right into it. And she did really well. She never went back to work. And that put me in the position to do it full time once I saw how successful she was. And she's like, hey, you need to quit your job and come help me with the business. And that was really driven more because we just had a new baby in January 2020. And then we also have another baby girl this year in March. So we wanted to have more time with our family instead of, being a chef is a very high labor intensive job. It's a 70-hour work week. So for us, it just didn't make sense to raise a family with that type of job.
You got a lot going on, new babies, new careers. So
Yep.
How has it been going? When you and your wife said, all right, we're going to get into this business full time, a lot of people, and I'm not suggesting you're one of them, but a lot of people think real estate is something that it isn't. Did you guys ever go through that to say, oh my gosh, what did we get ourselves into? Or were you fully aware that you were getting into a business where you eat what you kill?
Yeah. So, in 2020, no, I had no idea what I was getting into. I was, under the common misconception about what real estate is. A lot of new agents get themselves into. I thought the broker would just be giving me the leads and I would be showing houses and making money. And then I started watching your YouTube channel, 2021, and I really got a better idea of what it was. I started implementing your for sale by owner scripts, and I got my first listing as a for sale by owner in April this year, and it's just kind of been taken off from there. So when I quit my job, I did have a really good idea of what I was getting myself into. But of course, in 2020, when the pandemic happened, and we got furloughed, I had no idea what I was doing then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so common that people watch these shows on HGTV and they track them like crazy. Saying they got you too,
Yeah.
They should be charging the associations or something, because they just bring in so many people into the industry. So what has it been like? We're going to get into some details in just a second, but what has it been like overall, coming from a world where you're getting a paycheck every week or every other week, and now getting into a direct outbound sales business, having to deal with rejection? Walk us through what that has been like overall.
It was one of the scariest things I ever did, to take that leap of faith and just trust in the process, trust in the program. But I can tell you that it's also been the most rewarding decision I've made in my entire adult life. Just following the process, is nervous as I got about the decision, I took that nervous energy and just prospect more and got the business, and then felt better about it. So that was how I handled that. So it was scary at first, but I mean, looking back at it, and right now, I'm super happy I made that decision.
Yeah, I love it. A lot of people regret not doing it sooner. And so I don't know if you and your wife ever talk about that. It's like, babe, we should have did this years ago. What were we doing stuck in those kitchens all those years? Is that kind of the feeling you guys have?
Yeah. All the time we have that conversation, my wife and I, like, we should have did this 10 years ago.
Yeah. So you're here now. And so you mentioned something that, Tyler, I couldn't agree with more. We talk about it quite often, which is, from a mindset perspective, allowing the actions and the behaviors to impact the way we feel. Because if you're relying on feeling motivated or feeling good to take action, you're going to be in big trouble. So what you did was you got lost in the actions. You took massive action, which then gave you a strong mindset, gave you the confidence that, listen, I can do this. If I put in the work, I can absolutely make this work. And that is essentially what you found. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started at my brokerage, I asked some other agents, like, how do you get listings? Do you guys call for sell by owners and expireds? And they just told me, no, that doesn't work.
That's right.
That's your broker just tells you that to keep you busy, keep your wheels spinning.
Yeah.
And I was just, I believed it. And then I started watching, videos on YouTube like yours. And I went through it and I tried it and I set the appointment. And then when I got to the appointment, you talk about your for sale by owner marketing toolkit. And I was sitting in the driveway watching that video. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to help them sell the house, and detach from the outcome. And then when I got the listing and I was like, okay, this works. Then it was just calling, setting appointments, getting the experience, and getting the listings and getting the business. So it was definitely the action is what made the mindset a lot smoother for me.
Why do you think brokers give or tell new real estate agents that prospecting doesn't work, when prospecting via the telephone is the foundation of any sales business? If you look at any, I think, respected thought leader in the sales profession, whether that be a Jeb Blunt, who wrote the book Fanatical Prospecting.
Yep.
There's tons of books, or Antonio Garrido, who is a world-class Sandler sales trainer, coaching Fortune 500 CEOs. They all talk about the foundation of a sales business being outbound prospecting using the phone. But then real estate brokers and real estate managers are telling new salespeople, don't do any of that. That doesn't work. Why do you think they do that?
I think it's part of the industry, to get that revolving door of agents, getting the legal fees, the office fees, and just the time that it takes to invest and coach new agents is a big investment. If you have a broker who has 300 agents, I'm sure it's very hard to coach that many people who are brand new to it and start developing that mindset and having the accountability and developing those new habits and behaviors. I think it's just out of the scope for most brokers to be able to do that.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And really, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, most brokers are just hiring every Tom, Dick, and Harry, seeing, okay, which one of these clowns are going to make it, and that's the
Right.
business model of most brokerages. Unfortunately, it's not set up to have a success rate that's very high. So, all right, so now you get in the business. You've been doing this for 6 months. Let's talk about lead generation. What lead pillars are you finding the most success with right now when it comes to going out there and getting listings?
Number one is for sale by owner. So in my market, I'm seeing probably 5, 7 for sale by owners a day.
Okay.
So for me, that's my number one go-to. I hated doing for sale by owners, but it's what I've had the best results with. And now it's probably 75% of what I spend my time on is just calling for sale by owners. After that, I use Vulcan 7. So I do all the for sale by owners. The ones that I didn't get in contact with yesterday, I just keep calling. I'll call them again in the afternoon. And I really just go through exhaust that list of FSBOs first. Then I'm hitting the expireds, the cancels, withdrawals. And then if I have any time left after that, I'm bullseye prospecting on current listings.
I love it. I love it. Are you finding that the conversation with a for sale by owner is getting easier as the housing market continues to shift? You find it that they are in more pain, they're more open to hearing you out over the past 6 months?
Yeah, absolutely. So like the last 4 months ago, it was for sale by owners were selling their house,
Yep.
depending on the condition in the area, they were selling their house in a week or two. And they knew it. They knew they could probably sell their house without an agent in this market. Now that is not the case. It's still a really strong seller's market in my area, but it's not, 4-6 hours on the market, 15 offers overpriced anymore. It's 2-3 weeks on the market, 2-3 offers, and it's either at or below asking price. So the market has definitely shifted, which has made it easier for sale by owners to see the value in hiring a listing agent.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's what we're seeing in every market across the country that I've been talking about for years. And I've been trying to explain to new agents, listen, as soon as this market shifts, don't be scared, be excited, because now it's going to be a lot easier to go out there and get listings. And so over the past couple of months, obviously it takes a little while to build a pipeline, but now that you've been doing this for 6 months, what does the production look like? I mean, how many listings are you able to get? Is it, in the last couple of months? Let's break that down.
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked. I wrote down my numbers here. So this year I've taken 14 listings, 7 for sale by owners. 22 transactions. 7 were for sale by owners, 7 buyers, and 4 circle prospecting, and then 4 from past clients.
Awesome. I mean, I mean, you're having a really good first full year in real estate in the Orlando market. Just to give us context, Tyler, 22 deals closed so far, including your pendings and what the current pipeline looks like. What type of income will that represent for you by the end of the year, would you say?
So those are the listings that I've closed, and that's a 156,000 GCI with $7,100 average commission.
That's phenomenal. What kind of money were you making as a cook?
Well, I was a head chef, so I did pretty good in my career, and that was $85,000 a year.
Well, and how long did you do that for?
15 years. I started as a line cook, peeling potatoes before I got to, a leader management position.
Yeah, it took you 15 years. The point is, it took you 15 years to get to 85K. In your first year, you're going to almost double that. And so who knows with your skill set, mindset, work ethic, Tyler, what you can do in 15 years in this business. That's why it's so exciting. So, all right, let's break down the daily kind of schedule. So when are you prospecting? How many people are you looking to talk to every day? What does that look like?
Okay, so I'm up every day at 6 o'clock. I have my breakfast. I do my workout. I make breakfast for my daughter, take her to school, and I'm back at the house at 9 o'clock, and I'm prospecting from 9 to 11.
Got it.
Then from 11 to 2 is all admin work, following up with clients already in the pipeline who are qualified leads. And then I'm doing appointments in the afternoons, if not showings.
Got it. Now, one thing, as you know, is a lot of agents really struggle to stick to a schedule, prospect consistently. How are you able to fight the urges and all the distractions and all the what seems to be fires? How are you able to focus and get your 2 hours of prospecting in every day?
Be honest with you, it is really challenging. You know, I mean, especially with a toddler and a newborn in the house.
Yeah.
You know, I might go to bed at a certain time expecting to have plenty of rest when I wake up and be up all night. And I'm tired all day. You know, I don't feel like getting up and working out and making those calls. But I know that if I don't do that, I'm not going to be successful. And it's going to cause me more trouble if I don't do it than I do. You know, and I have a lot of things, you know, like you suggested. I have a picture of my family in my prospecting station. I have my vision board with my fitness, family, finance, all right next to me. I got my life vision, my letter to myself. Everything's framed in my office here, you know, and I just get in here and I do it. And once I start making calls, like it's hard to get off the dialer. You know what I mean? Like if I don't get the contacts, I don't get a good lead or a good appointment, I just start getting a little obsessive and just keep calling. You know, so it's hard, honestly. The biggest challenge is not doing like, for example, Monday had a closing and I had an inspection that I had to be at.
Yeah.
You know, and I couldn't fit in my morning prospecting time, so I had to adapt. You know, but if I'm doing revenue generating activities, I'll give myself a pass on the prospecting if I can't make it up that afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, if I have deals in my pipeline and as long as I'm making up for it the next day and I have an opening, then I can live with that.
Yeah, I love it. You said two key things, Tyler, that stuck out to me. Number one is you said, as soon as I get started, then everything else takes care of itself. So number one, the takeaway for anybody watching this or listening to the replay, just get your rear end to make the first call. And as soon as you do that, you'll be fine. And then the second thing is what I love what you said was not having an all or nothing mindset, meaning if you miss one day of prospecting, you don't let that one day turn into 5 days, 8 days, 12 days. You get right back the next day and you're right back in the saddle. So when you prospect for 2 hours, roughly how many people will you end up talking to? How many new prospects will you talk to?
About 14 to 16 contacts.
Yeah, that's great. And what does an average week look like for you when it comes to generating leads and appointments set, appointments going on? What does that look like as a result of talking maybe to 100, 150 people a week?
So I'm going to about 3 listing appointments a week.
It's great. It's phenomenal.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's under the pretense that we're going there to talk about what us working together looks like, and I'm listing your property, you know? So it's not like, hey, I might be bringing my buyer by or anything like that. So it's a clear agenda with the appointment.
Yeah. And actually I misspoke. I mean, you're able to go on 3, what we would call discovery appointments, not 150 conversations. Yours is more like 75 conversations turns into 3 high quality, high qualified appointments. Is that right? Does that sound about more right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a result of your skills over the phone. You know, what maybe 1 or 2 best practices, skill sets, Tyler, could you share with the audience that you find is working really well, that's allowing you to set these appointments over the phone?
Well, I think the script, one thing, and the pattern interrupt is huge. And just being transparent and using the language of us just meeting, not agreeing to anything over the phone, see what us working together would make sense or not. And most people won't say no to that.
Yeah.
And if they do, they agree to meet with me the next week. So definitely the follow-up, just sticking to the basics and executing on them. It's nothing really crazy out of the box.
Yeah.
it's just sticking to the script, going through the playbook.
Doing the work, and then what we call, conversation chunking. We're not trying to list the house over the phone. We're trying to sell an appointment. And at the
Exactly.
appointment, we can worry about winning the listing, but too many agents mix those two things up, which results in the prospect giving them sales resistance. And they say, no, I don't want to meet with you. You're coming across too pushy, too aggressive.
Right.
And they're like, damn, what I needed was just the appointment. And so you've focused on that. So yeah, that's great. So if you could go back and get licensed maybe all over again 2 years ago, we know that you would have stopped being a chef earlier, which you shared earlier in the conversation.
Right.
But are there maybe one or two things, Tyler, that you might share with yourself that other new realtors could benefit from?
My biggest advice would be to obviously hire a coach or get a really good mentor, and don't try to do everything at once. Just focus on prospecting and making the calls and taking care of that. Don't worry about, having the best website, making sure your picture is professionally done on your business card, and your Instagram has all this. And do you have enough sales and reviews to even go on a listing appointment yet? Don't worry about any of that. Just start making calls and having conversations and meeting with people. And that's what's going to get you on the path to closing deals the fastest, would be my advice.
Tyler, I love it. Thank you so much for spending a couple minutes with us today. You gave a lot of good takeaways. We appreciate your time very much.
All right. Thank you, Brendan. I appreciate it.
You got it. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
All right. Bye.